Tucker Carlson is no stranger to conspiracy theories, but in the past week he has certainly cranked up the speed on spreading them. First, he accused the NSA of spying on him, which, to be honest, I don't doubt, but the specifics are quite strange. He's also been attempting to spread the Great Replacement conspiracy theory in order to get his viewers riled up about white genocide, which is a debunked conspiracy theory that can trace its popularity back to Nazi propaganda. As I've gotten older, I've begun to see fascism in everything. Is it just me?
On Sunday, we heard from a whistleblower within the U.S. government, someone with direct knowledge, who warned us that the NSA was reading our electronic communications, our emails and texts, and was planning to leak them selectively in an effort to hurt us.
While I'm not particularly inclined to trust Tucker Carlson, I'm also not inclined to believe the word of the NSA. They're probably spying on Tucker, but I doubt it's a part of some far-left conspiracy to bring down his conservative show. Even if there was some kind of bombshell scandal, we all know Tucker would only use it to paint himself as a victim of cancel culture because of his political views. He could easily spin it to make himself appear stronger because his viewers genuinely don't care about the truth as long as lies are being told by someone they agree with. It's honestly disheartening to see this kind of behavior from one of the most popular talking heads in American politics. Although I do appreciate that he's doing it on live television and records of television programs are being kept now, future historians are going to be able to trace the rise of American fascism back to Limbaugh, Crowder, Tucker, and their haircuts.
Some faceless hack in a powerful government spy agency decides he doesn't like what you think, so he's going to hurt you, and there's nothing you can do about it? That could happen to you. And when it does happen, trust us. NBC News will call you a delusional QAnon conspiracy theorist for complaining about it.
Yeah, this is pretty fucking based. But isn't it funny that conservatives are always trying to be the moral police, but censorship is their hot ticket issue these days? And it's basically because they're not allowed to use slurs. Honestly, it's highly dishonest of Tucker to suggest that the NSA is going to be going after his conservative viewers for their political beliefs. Conservatives are always talking about law and order, which basically just means violently putting down Black Lives Matter protests, but are terrified of the state looking at their Facebook chats. How do you fail to see that you were the one enabling the state and to authoritarianism? It's absolutely absurd to me that conservatives suggest that welfare programs could lead to a fascist state when they're always trying to give the police tanks or whatever.
Well, this morning we decided to just call Paul Nakasone directly. He's the highly political left-wing four-star general who runs the NSA. The receptionist refused to put us through. We're American citizens, though, so we kept trying, because it's our right. This afternoon we got his direct line, and we tried again. Nakasone's assistant seems shocked that someone whose email the NSA is reading would dare to call the director himself. Shut up, serf! Obey!
Holy shit, the highly political left-wing four-star general, is that a fucking joke? Tucker Carlson actually wants his viewers to believe that the four-star general Trump-appointed head of the NSA is a communist revolutionary. The lie he tells in this statement is so bold, I can't even fault his viewers for believing it when they hear it. It's so extravagant. I just assume the average Tucker Carlson viewer calls bullshit on exactly nothing he says, and will continue to live their lives believing the military is led by, like, woke trans men. I think I'm making light of this situation to cope. One of the scariest things right-wing media has been doing lately is singling out individuals in the military that Trump feels has been disloyal. This extends specifically to the Joint Chiefs Chairman, Mark Milley, who has been a constant right-wing talking point lately. Mark Milley has become an enemy of the party because he is a personal enemy of Trump, and as one of the primary opponents in the White House to some of Trump's worst suggestions last year, it's kinda scary. Another Trump presidency is definitely one of my worst fears. Moving on, Tucker has recently resorted to using the white genocide conspiracy theory to get viewers scared, but he hasn't used those words exactly. Before we look at Tucker's words, let's look at this news story from Fox 17 in Nashville. It discusses the Biden administration's new policy of flying asylum seekers into the interior from the border for both logistical and security reasons. There are drop-offs in small towns and big cities all along the routes. I don't know if they're going into other processing centers. In some cases, family members are waiting to find these children, and there have been some emotional reunions. But my understanding is in a number of these cases, these kids are fresh across the border. Whether they're going to sponsors, family members, I don't know. They've intentionally not shared a lot of information with us. They don't want this to get out, he said. Even here, Fox has already picked words and sources to the matter specifically to monger fear, but I think we can get the gist of what they're actually trying to say. Closer to the end of the article, another quote seems to confirm that they've reached out to local news because they're scared for the safety of the children. There is no words to see how happy these children and parents are to be reunited. There's no words, she said. As a parent myself, I can only imagine what these families go through. To see them reunited is just beyond speech. There's nothing you can say to explain this reuniting of families. So what's the title Fox News gave this article? They are just getting ramped up. Migrant children flying, riding buses into Tennessee. Wow. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. A local Fox reporter has taken a tragic story and given it a partisan slant, but Tucker decided that it wasn't enough for him. I imagine he read that Fox article and decided to take it just a step further.
A few weeks ago, a driver for a charter bus company reached out to reporters at Fox 17 in Nashville. She'd been told not to speak to the media, but she did it anyway. Why? Because what she was seeing every day on the job was so strange, so without precedent in her 20-year career as a driver, that she felt she had to tell the public about it. Starting this April, the bus driver said, government agents began instructing her to pick up busloads of migrant children, foreign nationals from Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, etc. The driver wasn't given any information beyond that. She was just told to take those children deep into the interior of the United States, away from the border, and do it as quickly as possible. Quote, there have been some drop-offs in Nashville, some in Knoxville, some in Chattanooga, a couple in Atlanta, the driver said. That's just as far as I go. Then the children continue on further. But there's a problem. If you're trying to change the population of a country without the people who already live there finding out, it's tough to do it with buses. Because when you pull a bus packed with illegal migrants from a foreign country, without the proper ID, without the right to be in this country at all, people tend to notice. So the Biden administration came up with a different plan. Quote, now they're flying the kids because the buses were easier to videotape going down the highway.
So the government didn't switch to flying because it was safer and more efficient. They did it so they could hide their attempts at genociding the white race. He implicated the Biden administration in this conspiracy instead of the Jews, but the effect is the same. Tucker knows that he and the party do not have any substantive policy positions, so they have to resort to this made-up bullshit. While this is pretty conspiratorial in and of itself, he goes even further.
Ask yourself, by the way, since we've been talking a lot about democracy in this country, everything is a threat to democracy. If you change the population of a country without the consent of the people who live there, is that democracy? Doesn't that country belong to the people who live there? It's their country. That's what democracy is. But what if a small number of hardened ideologues decided to take it away from those people and give it to foreign nationals? That would not be democracy.
Everything is a threat to democracy. Tucker generally can't surprise me anymore, but I can't believe he was able to bookend his great replacement endorsement with a stab at the crowd calling him a fascist. What makes a fascist? He certainly looks and talks the part. I imagine Tucker's definition of a fascist includes wearing, like, fascies pins. Tucker can say whatever he wants without any consequences. How could you possibly think that allowing asylum seekers into your country is abetting a foreign invasion? How many more talking points of the far right need to be adopted before the Republican Party simply acknowledges that they're fascist? In my opinion, the fact that a major cable news network has become the top distributor of conspiracy theories and Nazi talking points should be terrifying to everyone. Thank you. Have a good day.